Where in the world is Rickon Stark? Now, we know his story just up to post-Winterfell, where the castle has been taken over by Theon and then Ramsay, and Bran, Rickon, Osha, Mira, Jojen, Hodor all hide in the crypts, leave, run into Lewin in the God's Wood. He's like, let's not get all Targaryen about this. Let's not keep our eggs in one basket. The boys should be hidden safely apart. If one of them is found, at least the other one's safe. And Osha, being the adult there, really, she's like, yeah, okay, I got you, wise man. And actions that. So Bran, whose story we do follow, at the end of A Clash of Kings is the last chapter where we see that interaction with Lewin. And then in A Storm of Swords, the first chapter, they have parted ways already. And Bran is with Hodor, Jojen, Mira, and Summer. And Rickon, Osha, and Shaggydog have gone in another direction. We don't really know exactly where they part ways. In the next chapter of Bran, he names this place Tumbledown Tower, where there is an old fallen down, brick, but, stone building. An old stone building. That's the word I'm looking for. And so he calls it Tumbledown Tower. It's not really an official place, but it is mapped just north of Winterfell, slightly to the west. And I guess, they are going through these woods. Bran, then, we know his storyline. He passes through near these mountains where he does spend a night in a cave and, bumps into a mountain clan person. And then goes to Queen's Crown and then the Night Fort. So Rickon and Osha would have had to have parted ways quite close, realistically, to Winterfell. Now, we later find out that they were followed a little bit by a young chap called Wex, who is Theon's squire. He is a mute, and interestingly enough, actually, when Theon is taking over Winterfell, backtrack even more, Theon picks Wex up when he goes back to the Iron Islands, okay? Wex is Ironborn. He's not like his squire who has always been there at Winterfell. So, when Theon takes Winterfell, Wex is there. He manages to survive and hide after the castle is then taken over by Ramsay. But before that, when Theon is giving his big speech to his Iron Men and he's standing there hoping people are going to come and support him in what he's saying, Wex is the first person to Wex crossed the line first, I think was the quote. And it's like, okay, so he's really behind Theon. He's question mark that for a minute. Was he assigned to keep an eye on Theon? I don't know. We'll come back to that. But Wex, Theon's squire, survives Ramsay overtaking the castle, and it turns out he was up in a tree in the God's Wood, saw Osha and Lewin talking, and he's noted that there were 6 of them that survived, the taking of Winterfell. And this is all reported back to Wyman Manderley down in White Harbour. So when we're in Davos's chapter, we hear that being told to him. Now, Wex saw this, followed the woman, the boy, and, the direwolf, so Rickon and Osha and Shaggydog, and essentially the information that Davos is given from Wex when he's told to point out on a map where Manderley is sending him to go and look for Rickon, the only heir that they know the location of to Winterfell, is Skagos. Is Rickon on Skagos? It's kind of a given that he must be on Skagos because that is where Davos is being led to in the story. The more I look into it, the more I kind of doubt it, and I'll get into that. But Davos is sent. We haven't seen him reach Skagos. Skagos, I'm thinking, what does it know of what is going on in the wars? Supposedly, a few trading galleys might dare to stop there. Probably more don't, because they fear the sharp, rocks in the waters surrounding the island. And, of course, the locals on it. But the ship that Janos Slynt gets sent on by Tyrion when he's going up to the wall, I can't remember exactly what it's called, sorry. I will find it and put it in post edit. It is meant to stop at Skagos. So there must be some kind of port there. What news do they know of in terms of who this random boy would be if he's arriving at Skagos? Has any word been sent from Skagos to anywhere? I highly doubt it, because I just don't think that they really use, modern ravens in that way, clipping a message on and sending it. Because normally it's like maesters who are trained to do that. I don't think there's a maester in Skagos. Is there? That would be sick. I've never given that thought. But hey, what does Skagos know of the current affairs of the rest of the Seven Kingdoms? I don't really know. Would they be aware that, the ruler of Winterfell, the current Stark at the beginning of the story, Eddard, is beheaded? Do they, would they really be up to date that the castle has been taken over? I don't know. But if Rickon did show up there, I have a feeling that with the wildness and oneness that he must get with his direwolf, must command some respect. And Osha, she's a savvy wildling. I think she can handle her own to try and save her own neck alongside Rickon's there, if it is the wild, dangerous place that it's described to be. It kind of also has a bit of a mystery around it, whereas, there's supposedly cannibals and unicorns on Skagos, but what if it's one of those myths that are told by the enemy that happened to win and to, like how Robb Stark and his army turned into wolves, that kind of thing. Anyway, what do they know? What's going on? I don't know. I think if Rickon did get there, he'd probably be okay. However, I do question, how do they know that Rickon has gone to Skagos? Now, how far, realistically, did Wex follow Osha and Rickon? Because White Harbour is all the way down here, south of Winterfell. And if they split ways there, how far did Wex follow them to then end up back at White Harbour? Because we're not told that. Is this a ruse? I don't know. Did Wex find that out close to Winterfell and then head south with that news? I don't know. However, I kind of have a thought that Osha, being quite a cunning wildling lady, I think that although Wex supposedly stays downwind of the people he's following, I think she might know that they were being followed, said out loud purposely that is where they're heading. Wex is right, okay, I know where they're heading. I better go and get myself to safety, somewhere where I'm going to get fed. And then they head in the opposite direction. Could that be the case? I don't know. I kind of think that it could possibly be safer for them on Bear Island. They could have travelled westward. And I do kind of have a little thought of how there's so many tunnel systems. These mountains that are far in the north but below the wall, where Bran and company spend the night, are there tunnels through to the other side where they could potentially get a boat over to Bear Island or somewhere else? That's just a side thought. But where is Rickon? Is he actually on Skagos? It's a pretty... I mean, if you wanted to go somewhere where not just that you didn't want to be found, but that was hard for other people to come and get at you, Skagos is a good place for that. It also seems like a really fitting place for Rickon to go, being the wild child. But then we do also have the name of his direwolf being Shaggydog, and the Shaggydog story is something that's kind of built with a bit of mystery but ends up being nothing. And who knows? Perhaps the Manderleys are playing both sides. They know that Rickon is DEAD dead and is sending Davos up to Skagos for some other reason. I can't think of what that reason would be, though, really, for him to send him that way. So I would then think that lends more to why Manderley actually believes that Rickon is there. What do you think is going on with that? Have I forgotten any details that can prove or disprove these things? Please let me know. I don't really know if I have anything else to add. I do have another thought, actually, because we do see that warg dream through John where he's ghost and he's sensing his brother fighting this, like, one-horned goat, you know, the unicorn. And we're assuming, well, that must be Shaggydog on Skagos, because that's where we think, you know, Shaggydog and Rickon are. Does that have to be Skagos? Does that have to be one of the unicorns there? I don't know. Perhaps the Shaggydog story side of it is that Wyman Manderley actually has Rickon, Osha, and Shaggydog there in the wolf's den somewhere else, and is sending Davos just off on a wild goose chase, some Shaggydog story in that sense. Because Davos does hear wolves, that there are just wolves around. Wolves. What do you think? Also, let me know if there's any subjects you want to go and do, like, deep dives on, because I think we've looked at the Maesters as much as we can now, and I'm not set on whether or not to look at another religion next, or places. There will be character-based videos coming, and theories, of course. But let me know if there's specific subjects that we can do deep dives on. And what do you think is going on in Skagos or with Rickon? Where is Rickon? Don't forget to like, subscribe, turn on your notifications, and let me know your thoughts. Thanks for watching. I'll see you next time. Cheerio!